and welcome back to Big Match of the Day. It's a Big Match of the Day special because we are going to try to put together all of the goals from our run in the UEFA Cup, now known as the Europa League for no apparent benefit, back in 1983. We qualified for that having come runners-up to Liverpool in 1982-83 season in what was our first season in the top flight. That being the case, why am I going to start this particular video with a game from about 14 months before the UEFA Cup even started? I'm going back to the week that we actually got promoted to the top flight in the first instance. We played Wrexham on the Tuesday and beat them 2-0 with 2 goals from Ross Jenkins. The pitch was invaded, the pond was invaded, as you do these days obviously. But it's not that game that I'm going back to. 2 days after that, all a bit after the Lord Mayor's show you'd think, we had the FA Youth Cup final for the first time ever at Vicarage Road. Tom Walley, who'd been a player and then a coach, was already really a hero at the club. He's now a Hall of Famer. But most of his work had gone unseen until that Thursday. The first leg had already taken place at Old Trafford and the Hornets had won it 3-2. But here we were, second leg, facing a United team that included Mark Hughes, who went on to not only be Wales manager, but in his playing career, he played for, yes, United twice, he played for Chelsea, and he also played for Bayern Munich and Barcelona. Really some pedigree.
The second leg of the FA Youth Cup final, and Watford, who'd won the first game 3-2 at Old Trafford, increased their lead when United centre-half Billy Garton deflected into his own goal, a cross by the Watford centre-forward Jimmy Gilligan. But United's Belfast prodigy Norman Whiteside, wearing number 9, fed number 11 Peter Doherty, and it was Mark Hughes who put United back into the tie. Doherty, by the way, is the youngest son of Tommy, the ex-Manchester United manager. But at the other end, Watford scored again through David Jobson, restoring their 2-goal advantage. And early in the second half, United's Mark Dempsey cut through to make the aggregate score 5-4. He's the only Manchester-born player in their side. Then United will level. A cross by substitute Nick Wood, a splendid header by Hughes, and now it's extra time. Both teams scored again, and then came Watford's winner. A header by Gilligan, making the final aggregate score in this thrilling Youth Cup final 7-6 to Watford, and putting the finishing touch to a wonderful match which brought crowd scenes similar to those of 2 nights earlier. A throwback to the old days.
Wonderful, wasn't it? 8 goals, there were 5 goals at Old Trafford. 2 teams of young 17 and 18-year-old boys and an odd 16-year-old there, playing as if their lives depended upon it and exciting a crowd. And as you say, if it's a throwback to the old days, then it wouldn't be so bad if some of the old days came back.
So, we won the cup and the pond was probably invaded because, again, why wouldn't you? And it was an amazing night. If we then forward wind, we came runners-up. We qualified for Europe. But when we qualified, during the celebration, something strange happened. The team that had bought us from the 4th division all the way through to the 1st division in a little under 5 years started to break up. Ross Jenkins, the centre forward, moved to Hong Kong to play for a while before retiring out to Spain to run a bar. Luther Blissett, more famously, moved to AC Milan, who paid a record transfer fee of £1 million, a massive fee at the time for him. Graham Taylor replaced those 2 icons of the club with George Riley as a tall striker and a Maurice Johnson, who we signed from Partick Thistle. They were a great success and they led us on to the FA Cup final at the end of that year, but they weren't signed in time to appear in the UEFA Cup. That, coupled with a whole host of injuries, meant that when we faced Kaiserslautern, our first opponents away, we had up to 7 first-team players missing. What did that mean? It meant that the players, or a lot of the players, who had played against Man United, who had won the FA Cup, the FA Youth Cup, were suddenly being launched for the first time live into Europe. Let's see how they got on over in Germany against Bundesliga Kaiserslautern.
Ecco la partita che ha visto Blissett e Kaiserslautern. Watford è la ex squadra di Blissett, appunto, ha vinto però la tedesca Kaiserslautern per 3-1. Abbiamo visto il gol di apertura di Allofs, un nome celebre, un nome che ricorre spesso sia negli Eurogol sia anche nelle partite non necessariamente di club, essendo un giocatore del giro della nazionale. Ecco il gol di Allofs. E il Kaiserslautern, che l'anno scorso fu avversario anche del Napoli, con i suoi Breitner e così via, è in vantaggio con Allofs. C'è il momentaneo pareggio della formazione del Watford, formazione che ha il cantante Elton John come presidente e primo sostenitore, ed è di Gilligan al 15° del primo tempo. Al quarto d'ora dunque 1-1 ed è il risultato del primo tempo, questo 1-1, sicuramente un risultato positivo sarebbe stato, e quindi fino a questo momento sicuramente Lothar Blissett era contento del comportamento dei suoi ex compagni. Un po' meno dopo quello che è successo nella ripresa, quando si è scatenato un ex giocatore del Göteborg, quel Nilsson, Torbjörn Nilsson, autore della doppietta che ha fissato il risultato del Kaiserslautern sulle 3-1, un risultato abbastanza difficile da rimediare. Vedete invece come è bravo a rimediare Nilsson in condizioni un po' precarie. Abbiamo anche qui il replay per rivedere la situazione abbastanza difficile sotto la porta, ma è bravo Nilsson, anche un briciolino fortunato. Comunque controlla bene, arriva con la punta e riesce ugualmente a realizzare. Qui siamo al 10° minuto del secondo tempo ed è il 2-1. E qui invece ancora da distanza molto ravvicinata, con grande senso del gol, molto opportunismo, Nilsson realizza, lo svedese, ex Göteborg.
In any other situation, losing away 3-1 could be considered a bad result, but taking the youngsters that we had and grabbing that vital away goal really was something. Jimmy Gilligan, the first scorer in Europe for Watford, now the technical director with the academy. And so we come to the second leg at Vicarage Road. And Kaiserslautern famously turned up wearing t-shirts and tracksuits and looking like the job was already done. John Ward, the assistant manager, spotted this, relayed it to the team and said, they think they've already done this. Well, they hadn't really, not quite. There's some good footage of this game, because this game absolutely goes down in the annals of Hornets history.
Mind a 2-0 win in 90 minutes would see Watford through with that away goal they scored in Germany. 3-1 to Watford in 90 minutes would mean extra time and possibly penalties. Anything less would put Watford out. Watford who will be all out to bombard the Germans in the opening 20 minutes. Rostrons stays forward for Barnes here. And Briegel who miscued. Barnes going onto the near post. Nigel Callaghan to take the corner. And a flick on by Barnes, and the heads are up. And a very close thing indeed by Rostrons. Barnes on, and Richardson. And it's there! Ian Richardson, on his first team debut for Watford, has scored after 4 minutes the early goal they wanted. What a superb start. 19 years old, he scored twice against the China team when Watford toured in the summer. Got a place tonight only because of the injury this morning to Lohman. And again, Watford packed the area. And now Terry arrives. Rostron. Appeals for a foul by the crowd. Here's Palmer. Driven in low. Oh, and against the number 4. An own goal. Meltzer. It's 2-0 and the aggregate is level.
Watford have wiped out Kaiserslaughter's lead in the opening 10 minutes. Charlie Palmer got that ball in, the goalkeeper parried, it's an own goal off the number 4, Werner Meltzer, and it's 2-0 on the night and 3-3 overall. And again, Watford packed the area. And now Terry arrives. Rostron feels for a foul by the crowd. Here's Palmer, driven in low. Oh, and against the number 4, an own goal. Meltzer. It's 2-0, and the aggregate is level. Watford have wiped out Kaiserslaughter's lead in the opening 10 minutes. Charlie Palmer got that ball in, the goalkeeper parried, it's an own goal off the number 4, Werner Meltzer, and it's 2-0 on the night and 3-3 overall. Barnes being shadowed by Meltzer. And turned in by Rostron, and a good header by Gilligan. He applauds the cross, and it was beautifully pulled back. And this is where WIlf Rostrons, who used to be a winger, is so dangerous from left back. And Gilligan's header going correctly back across the goal to beat the keeper. The crowd inside Vicarage Road tonight is 21,500 for Watford's first European match here. It was Terry, and then Gilligan. Barnes. Rostrons made a tremendous run from left back, and he was found by Callahan. He's got 3 in the centre, and here's Gilligan! What a marvellous move! How well Steve Terry has played at the back. This is Jobson. Played in early for Richardson to slide in. Well, I'd say, what a brilliant goal, his second of the match. And it looked so simple, but it was beautifully contrived. Between 2 of the youngest players, Richard Jobson with the cross, he was in Sunday League football a year ago, and the lad Richardson has now scored twice in his first senior match for Watford. Now what that means is that Watford lead 3-0 on the night. They lead 4-3 on aggregate to score. Well, they're on the verge of something memorable again here. They've got to win this. Steve Terry needs to win it, and Jobson does too. And Watford have written another episode in their tale of the unexpected. Ian Richardson, who didn't know until this morning that he was in with a chance of playing, was told at the training ground he was selected for his first senior match for the club. And his 2 goals have brought a marvellous victory. 3-0 on the night, 4-3 on aggregate. They pulled round a 2-goal deficit from the first leg, and an historic night indeed in this corner of Hertfordshire.
From a personal point of view, John, this is the greatest result of my career. Perhaps not the greatest performance, but the greatest result.
What about the thinking behind the now inspired selection of Ian Richardson?
Ian has got natural pace, and he's also a goal scorer. And on a man-to-man situation, I felt that that was well worth having a go at. Perhaps I ought to tell you the truth and say he was the only one I got left.
It was a cracking result, and making this video is a bit of a labour of love really, because the reserve team in the previous season had been made up of those youth team players, and as a 13-year-old and a season ticket holder, you got free admission to reserve team games that were played on a Saturday afternoon when Watford were away. And Ian Richardson was just my favourite player, and I really hoped that when Luther went, he was going to get given the chance to really make his name in the first team. But he really made his name on that night. And so we came to the second round and drawn with Levski Spartak of Bulgaria. This was still the height of the Cold War, and people simply didn't travel through the Iron Curtain to the Soviet bloc, this was going to be difficult, and Graham Taylor knew this. The first leg, we were drawn at home, and so what he really wanted to have, and stated before the game, was something to take to Bulgaria to defend. He wanted a lead. Let's see how we got on at Vicarage Road. So not a lead to defend, but a draw. Honours even. This was really still going to be very, very difficult. Now the following footage isn't the best, I grant you, but this was put down by Graham Taylor as the greatest performance of his first era at Watford. This was us going away to Levski Spartak in a very, very hostile Bulgaria. See how we got on.
Per 1-1. Levski Sparta contro Watford 1-3, ma dopo i tempi supplementari. Vantaggio della formazione bulgara con Spasov su calcio di rigore che stiamo rivedendo al 6° minuto del primo tempo. Dopo solo 3 minuti il Watford con Callaghan ristabilisce la parità. All'andata l'incontro era stato concluso sull'1-1 e quindi a questo punto è tutto pari, ma si giocano invano non solo gli altri 35 minuti del primo tempo, ma anche i 45 minuti della ripresa e anche tutti i 15 del primo tempo supplementare. Nel corso del secondo tempo supplementare, prima Rostrons, intanto c'è da notare, e lo vediamo, che sbaglia Spasov, questa volta colpendo il palo, un altro calcio di rigore che avrebbe dato la vittoria e presumibilmente la qualificazione, un vantaggio e forse la qualificazione a Levski. E invece, come si è detto, nel corso dei tempi supplementari, del secondo tempo supplementare, all'11° Rostrons, abbiamo visto il gol, porta in vantaggio il Watford, la squadra di Elton John, presidente Elton John, cantante Elton John. Ecco il gol di Rostrons, 2-1, qualificazione ormai praticamente certa, a 4 minuti dalla fine dei tempi supplementari, un minuto dopo addirittura 3-1, grazie a una rete messa a segno da Richardson, che è tra l'altro, la vedremo nelle due versioni, a velocità normale, a velocità rallentata, alle spalle della porta della formazione bulgara, è l'ultimo gol per questo secondo turno di coppe calcistiche europee.
Lo dedichiamo a Blissett,
Watford. Centravanti del Watford e attualmente centravanti del Milan. Ecco il gol di Richardson. E rapidamente, dopo il gol di Richardson, il quadro delle 16.
So we won 3-1 away, and yet another cracker from Nigel Callaghan. Anybody who's watched the rest of the match of the days will know that Nigel Callaghan, he could hit a ball. And he made a really big impression. Certainly on the Bulgarian goalkeeper anyway. So we were then drawn in the November. It was a very cold November. I remember because I went to the first leg against Sparta Prague at home. Now Sparta Prague were admittedly a real jump up. They had some fabulous players such as Thomas Scaravi, who went on in the 1990 World Cup to really make again a name for himself and played in Italy for a number of years. But they were the real deal. They were very good, and it was very, very cold. But if you were from Czechoslovakia, that didn't really bother you that night. So we lost the first leg 3-2. Unfortunately, the footage, somebody in Watford in 1983 thought we wouldn't want to see other goals. We lost 3-2. Wasn't much to take away. And then we had a following week later, we had to go to Sparta Prague. It was so phenomenally cold that the players involved were stunned that the game was even played. It was like playing on an ice rink, and you can see still the lines of snow that just haven't been cleared properly, lines of almost ice really, on the pitch. And this was really a game too far. The lads had done tremendously well, but they were far too good and put it past us, seemingly with ease. But it wasn't. It was a European venture of which we've never gone on again. And with the Pozzos, we can still aspire to it at some point, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But they did us proud. They really did. It was a young team turning up and really being counted. The season went on. They didn't get so many opportunities. George Riley and Maurice Johnson came into the team, and we ended up in the FA Cup final. It was a season to remember, but it's definitely a European tour to remember. And those younger players who aren't necessarily as well known in the club history absolutely deserve to be remembered.
Dolphins can swim. Though nothing will keep us together. We can beat them forever and ever. Oh, we can be heroes just for one day.